Hello friends, welcome to the MOOCs on Entrepreneurship Development. We are discussing the module number 6, which is on different legislations and the acts. In this video, we will discuss the Sale of Goods Act 1930. The contents of this presentation: there is a brief introduction, then what is the contract of sale of goods, the different types of goods, and the rights of the sellers and the buyers. The Sale of Goods Act 1930 is the law that governs the sale of goods in all parts of the India. This act requires goods to be as prescribed or as described, of satisfactory quality and fit for the purpose. The only time goods are not required to be satisfactory quality is if a defect or issue was specifically brought to the buyer's attention before he has purchased that product. Now, who are the buyers and who are the sellers? As per the section 2(1) of the act, a buyer is someone who buys or has agreed to buy the goods. The act defines seller in section 2(13). A seller is someone who sells or has agreed to sell the goods. So, as per the act, even the person who agrees to buy or sell is qualified as a buyer or a seller. The actual transfer of goods does not have to take place for the buyer or the seller to be considered as parties to the contract. Now, next is what is the contract of sales of goods. The section 4 of Sale of Goods Act defines the term sale and agreement to sell as: a contract of sale of goods is a contract whereby the seller transfers or agrees to transfer the goods to the buyer for a price. There may be a contract of sale between one part owner and another also. Now, what are the goods? The act defines the term goods in its section 2(7) as all types of movable property. Every kind of movable property other than the actionable claims and the money. We will discuss in the next slide what is the actionable claims and the money. So, the movable property includes the stocks and shares, growing crops, grass, and things attached to or forming part of the land which are agreed to be severed before the sale will be considered as the goods. The term actionable claims means those claims which are eligible to be enforced or initiated by a suit or by a legal action. This means that those claims where an action such as a recovery by auction, suit, refunds, etc., could be initiated to recover or realize the claims. These are not considered as the goods. Then we go to the different subtypes of goods. The first is the existing goods. The goods are termed as existing goods if they are present, that means they are in existence at the time of the contract. In section 6 of the act, the existing goods are those goods which are in the legal possession or are owned by the seller at the time of formulation of the contract of sales. Next is the future goods. In section 2(6) of the act, future goods have been defined as the goods that will either be manufactured or produced or acquired by the seller at the time the contract of sale is made. The contract for the sale of future goods will never have the actual sale in it, will always be an agreement to sell. For example, you have an apple orchard with apples in it. You agree to sell 1000 apples to a buyer after the apples ripe. This is a sale that has to occur in the future, but the goods have been identified already and the agreement made. Such goods are known as the future goods. The third is the contingent goods. The contingent goods are actually a subtype of the future goods in the sense that in the contingent goods the actual sale is to be done in the future. These goods are a part of the sale contract that has some contingency clause in it. For example, if you sell your apples from your orchard where the trees are yet to produce the apples are a contingent good. the sale is dependent on the condition that the trees will be able to produce the apples, which may not happen also. The next is the sale and agreement to sell under section 4. So, section 4(1) of the Act states that a contract of sale of goods is a contract whereby the seller either transfers or agrees to transfer the property in the goods to the buyer for a decided price. In section 4(4) of the Act, it is maintained that for an agreement of sale to become a sale, the time has to elapse or the conditions have to be fulfilled, subject to which the goods have to be transferred. Now, next is the rights of the unpaid seller against the goods. So, the rights of lien, so this is the seller's lien as per section 47. According to the subsection 1 of section 47 of the Act, an unpaid seller, that means a seller who has not been paid, who is in possession of the goods, can retain their possession until payment. This is possible in the following cases. Number 1, he sells the goods without any stipulation for the credit, that means he is selling the things on cash. So, unless he gets the cash, he can withhold the items. The second is the buyer becomes insolvent, in case the buyer is not able to pay the money, and then this seller can keep the goods with him. When the buyer of the goods does not pay his dues to the seller becomes an unpaid seller, and now the seller has certain rights against the buyer. Such rights are seller remedies against the breach of the contract by the buyer. Such rights of the unpaid seller are additional to the rights against the goods he sold. That means, one is right against the goods, second is rights against the buyer also in case he breaches any contract. So, first is suit for price. Under the contract of the sales, if the property of the goods is already passed, but the buyer refuses to pay for the goods, the seller becomes an unpaid seller. In such a case, the seller can sue the buyer for wrongfully refusing to pay him his dues. In the second case, he can file a suit for damages for non-acceptance. If the buyer wrongfully refuses or neglects to accept and pay the unpaid seller, the seller can sue the buyer for damages caused due to the non-acceptance of the goods. Like sometimes if you have made an agreement to sell, let us say, the apples, and he refuses, the buyer refuses at the time. Now, the apples can rot, so he can claim the damages, the seller can claim the damages. Third is repudiation of a contract before the due date. If the buyer repudiates the contract before the delivery date of the goods, the seller can still sue for the damages. Such a contract is considered as a resident contract, and so the seller can sue for the breach of the contract. This is covered by the Indian Contract Act and is known as the anticipatory breach of the contract. Next is suit for the interest. If there is a specific agreement between the parties, the seller can sue for the interest amount due to him from the buyer. This is when the parties have specifically agreed on the interest rate to be paid to the seller from the date on which the payment becomes due. That means, when the payment becomes due and the buyer doesn't pay to the seller, so the interest can become due. Under this clause, he can claim for the interest. But if the parties do not have any such specific terms, still the court may award the seller with the interest amount due to him at a rate which it seems fit. Next is the remedies of the buyer against the seller. When the seller breaches the contract, the buyer also has certain remedies against the seller. First is damages of non-delivery. If the seller wrongfully or neglectfully refuses to deliver the goods to the buyer, then the buyer can sue for non-delivery of the goods. According to section 57 of the Sale of Goods Act, if the buyer faces losses due to the wrongful actions of the seller, like the non-delivery, he can sue for the damages caused due to this. Second case, he can file a suit for specific performance. If the seller commits a breach of contract, the buyer can approach the court to ask the seller for specific performance. The court, after deliberations, can command the seller for specific performance. One important point to be kept in mind is that this remedy is only available if the goods are ascertained or specific. Now, what are the ascertained goods or what are specific goods? Let us see in the next slide. The ascertained goods, this is a type not defined by the law, but by the judicial interpretation. This term is used for specific goods which have been selected from a larger set of goods. So, there are many goods and a few have been selected from that bunch of goods. So, the specific goods, these are those goods that are identified and agreed upon when the contract of sale is formed. For example, you want to sell your car online, you put an advertisement with its picture and information, a buyer agrees to the sale and a contract is formed. The car in this case is a specific good. So, in case a car is not, let us say, functioning properly, the buyer can file a suit for the non-performance of the good. Next is the suit for the breach of the warranty. In case the seller breaches the warranty clause, then again the buyer can file a suit. Next is repudiation of the contract. If the seller repudiates the contract, the buyer does not have to wait until the date of the contract. He can treat the contract as rescinded and sue for the damages immediately. This will be an anticipatory breach of the contract. So, that is all in this specific act. For more details, you can refer to the online material and then you can get a lot of information from there. Yeah, thank you.